My brothers and sisters, you are now watching The Gamer 2323, so just forget about the chores you're supposed to do. Put your feet up, get your Kool-Aid, fried chicken, popcorn, get whatever you may need. And I hope you enjoy the video.
Alright, you guys, so, dude, this season is passing by so fast, dude. Like, it seemed like season 6 just started, like, a couple of weeks ago. We are already nearing towards the ending of this season. I think next episode will be episode 14. Last night was episode 13 called The Same Boat. So this will be my little recap of all the stuff that went down, what I think of it. This is hands down, again, I'll say it again, season 6 is the best season of The Walking Dead ever. Like, if you want to go from episode to episode to episode, this season has been really strong in like almost every aspect, man. This season has been really good, man. But anyways, so all the stuff that went down, there was a lot of stuff that went down actually. So this was really like a Carol and Maggie episode, and I don't think we've had like an episode like with these two, core group, females in The Walking Dead. This episode was really just about Carol and Maggie for the most part, because they got kidnapped by some of the saviors. So at the beginning, it shows a scene of when Carol and Maggie got kidnapped, when Rick and Groot, were going inside of, the place to kill all of the saviors. So it shows that scene of how that went down when they were outside at nighttime and how that all went down. So it starts off showing that scene of how Carol and Maggie got into the position that they're in. So then they begin to talk on the mic to Rick. In the last episode, we seen it from Rick's perspective. This time you see it from this group's perspective, and they're talking to Rick on the walkie. And the girl that's talking, I think her name was Paula. Dude, she was... Not only was her acting great, she was a great character, dude. Like, she was a tough as nails chick. And, like, she was talking to Rick saying, yeah, we got a Carol and we got a Maggie, So they're saying that, stuff to Rick. And Rick, he's like, I want to trade. You know how Rick is. He's trying to get his people back. Because Carol and Maggie, like, they're like some of the last OGs left in, this group. They've been with us for a while, So that whole thing happens. We know how that scene goes down. Carol and Maggie and Carol immediately starts to play that little possum role, to where she's like so afraid. She's like, but no one really knows how Carol really is. So she immediately starts to play that scared old woman role. And I'm just like, y'all better be careful, But Carol and Maggie, their sight gets covered by like this little black, sheet thing, whatever. And they're being driven somewhere. No one knows where, because they can't really see what's going on. So once they arrive to wherever they have taken Carol and Maggie, they tie them up, with a duct tape, and they put them inside of this room, and they're talking for a second, but then like I guess something is going on outside, so they ask for backup, so they have to leave Carol and Maggie tied up, in duct tape, and they say, you try anything, I will kill you. Again, this group, especially Paula, she just stood out so much to me. I just thought her acting was great, dude, but immediately as soon as they leave Carol and Maggie's trying to break free, so she starts like trying to get a free Carol again. She's playing this. At first I wasn't really sure, because Carol's done this before, to where she pretends to be scared, but she's really trying to drop suckers, so she was doing that, and I'm like, nah, I don't believe you for 1 second, Carol. But it was this one scene to where, like, because they had gagged Carol, like, with something, so they both couldn't talk, Maggie and Carol. So but Carol starts to lose it, dude, for some reason. She just like and she just starts to lose it. I'm like, you still faking, right, Carol? Like, I really wasn't sure if she was faking or not, but she just starts to lose it. And Maggie, she's like, Carol? Like, so I really wasn't sure if Carol was trying to like pretend to be like in bad condition, and then when they would try to help her, she just like stabbed him. I really wasn't sure what Carol was trying to do, but she just starts to lose it. The group comes back in, you know. I guess there was like a lot of walkers out there, and that's why they called for backup, so they had to handle some of the walkers. They come back and they see Maggie and Carol again, she's starting to lose it, but they're not really paying no attention to her at that moment. So Maggie's like, help Carol. Well, she's trying to talk as like she's a gag, but she's like, look at her, help her. So they take off, they take out the thing, outside of Carol's mouth, and she starts to calm down, and I'm just like, again, I really wasn't sure what Carol was trying to do, because we all know Carol is the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing. She will pretend to be like in bad shape, and then the second you drop your guard down, Carol might do something, but she didn't. So that happened. What was her name? That old lady that was smoking and was coughing like she had Malls. I think her name was Malls, so she's smoking. And again, like, they're seeing how Carol is, and they're like, how the heck did you make it this far? So they already think like Carol is just like, she's just got real lucky, and there's no way this old, scared lady, could have made it this far. So if Carol was putting on an act, I wasn't completely sure. It worked because they're just like, how the heck did you make it this far? So but this old lady that was smoking, I think her name was Malls, she's like coughing up blood, and I'm like, what the frick? So I'm like, you think you should be smoking? But it was just like, this group was like really hardcore. And one thing I didn't mention, they did, because there was a guy in this group, and like, I think Carol, yeah, it was Carol that shot him, but she shot him in the arm. So there's a guy with them. He got shot in the arm. I forgot his name, but he was pissed at Carol, and like, he needed treatment on his arm because he was like losing a lot of blood. So they're all inside this room. It's Carol and Maggie. They're still tied up, and the rest of these and the rest of the saviors. Paula, who seems to be the leader of this group, it seems like, they're starting to talk, and there was a lot of talking in this episode compared to the previous ones, but I was still really intrigued, because I thought Paula's actor, I think her name was Alicia Witt, was such a good character, and not only just her, this group was just like, had really intriguing characters, like you wanted to know more about them, but the guy who was shot, I don't remember his name, so they're like trying to treat his arm, but they're saying that they have to get him some help soon, because he's losing a lot of blood. And I think Maggie was the one that said his nerves are starting to fail him. If we don't do something quick, we might have to cut off his arm. So this guy's pissed because Carol shot him, and he stands up, and it looks like he's about to be Ed 2.0. It looks like he's about to slap Carol and start like really like messing with her. Maggie, who's still tied up, she like tries to help, and like she trips the guy, with her legs, saying to stay away from Carol. And then there's like this little tussle. I think Paula was the one that came over and tried to break it up. The guy like freaking slaps Paul. I'm like, is this how you guys run? So he's losing it, and he's like really pissed and trying to get at Carol, and eventually he does get to Carol, and he starts to like kick her like multiple times, but then Paula, who got slapped by him, she gets back up, and like, I think she knocks him out, with the butt of her gun. So he's knocked out, but that man was like kicking Carol like she was FIFA or something, So Carol, did get attacked again by a guy. Carol's always been getting attacked by guys since like this show has started. From Ed to Morgan, freaking choke slammed into now this guy. But yeah, Carol, she did get attacked for a while. So that there was a lot of stuff that went down. Like, I literally have 3 pages of freaking notes. But again, at this point, the way Carol was, I wasn't really sure if she was still trying to play possum, because just the way she was, like, you knew, like, she wasn't really being the Carol that we know. So Maggie, she's taken in like this room with Shell, and Shell is trying to get some information out of Maggie. I think she's trying to find out where do they stay at, and Maggie, of course, she doesn't want to tell her that, because then there could be some real issues, so she's talking to Shell is trying to get some info from Maggie's trying to really talk to Shell and trying to really get to know her and really try to connect with her. Again, these chicks wasn't having no part of it. Like every time they tried to get to know these, women, because they were women, they was just like, listen, this is how it's gonna be. Like, and I just thought like these female, especially in this episode, all the female characters, like they just showed like some really strong traits about them. Like these women deserve to be alive right now, not just because they were lucky enough to come across a group. They have adapted to this new world, so but it did seem like at one point that Maggie was starting to connect with the Shell, because the group eventually found out that Maggie is pregnant, and I think it was Paula who said to Maggie, like, really, you're pregnant? She was like, you're stupid to get pregnant, around. There's a lot of talking in this episode, and it kind of seemed like Paula, even though she was really cold-blooded, it seemed like at one point she could have been like Maggie, or she could have been like Carol, but it just seemed like all of her humanity was completely gone. She was just completely cold-hearted. Like they would say, like Maggie would say like the most like affectionate thing that you would think that she would have some feelings towards, but she's just like, you're gonna die today. I'm just like, these chicks are not having no part of it. They wasn't buying anything they were selling, but it seemed like Maggie was connecting to a Shell, because I think Shell is, starts to talk about her father and who she was before all of this happened. I think she showed a tattoo that said Frank, and Frank was her dad, so it kind of seemed like she was starting to connect with Shell a little bit and really start to open up. And Shell really seemed like the only one that, when she found out that Maggie was pregnant, it kind of got to her just in her facial expression. But even though it seemed like Maggie was about to break through to her, she got right back to the point. So where's your camp? Just like, that drug is not gonna work on this group, So this group, you just get the feeling, and this isn't even like all of the saviors. This is just like a little, a little group of the saviors. But just these women alone, if the women are like this, can you imagine once they finally reach Negan, how some of these people are going to be like? A lot of this episode was, Rick and Paul going back and forth on the walkie. Rick is still trying to get Carol and Maggie. He's like, do we have a deal? And Paula, she's not giving in. She's like, well, I have two of your people and you only have one of mine. It doesn't seem like a fair trade, does it? So they're like going back and forth. And Rick is like, I think we. What did Rick say? He says something to the extent to where, listen, we should just do it this way before some blood is spilled. And Carol is trying to like really, tell this group that you guys should just turn us over, because if you don't, like, some bad stuff might happen. Things might go down. People may die. And Carol, again, she's starting to cry and stuff. It was really hard to read what Carol was doing when this episode was going on, because you wasn't really sure if she was really terrified or she was trying to play possum again, so it's kind of hard to read Carol, but she is pleading to this group, to just cooperate with the stuff Rick is saying and just like have a trade, so eventually Paula talks to Rick and says, fine, we'll do it. And then like she says to him to meet them somewhere, but I think there was like no static on the walkie, so that, you know, I guess gave her the impression that, you know, Rick and the group was like real close. So then Paula came up with this plan to pretty much ambush Rick and just try to kill them all. Carol again, she starts to look terrible. I wasn't really sure if she was legit terrified, because this group did really seem like they could kill you. Like it seemed like they know what they were doing, or she was still trying to play possum. But so some of the saviors, Paula to Malls to Shell and the guy, they're about to ambush Rick and try to kill them. Some things happen after that. There's a lot of talking in this episode, so I can't really say too much. But Carol asks Paula for a smoke, and like I think Paul is seeing that Carol had like a cross in her hand, you know, and I don't think I've ever seen Carol smoke before, so it's kind of odd just to see her ask for a smoke, you know. But so she asked for a smoke, and then Paula, she kind of starts to give some backstory of who she was before this, you know, apocalypse started. She starts to give like this little speech, you know, and stuff, and really say, you know, who she was. I think she said she was a secretary and stuff like that, and how she lost her kids and stuff, and her husband, and that's like really why she's so cold-blooded, because once she lost them, she felt like she lost everything. So Paula is giving her backstory, but at the same time she's not breaking down. Like she's just saying it so nonchalantly and without emotion, and so cold, that even though she is giving her backstory to Carol, it's still like, don't try nothing on Paula. Like Paula was, I thought she was such a great character, man. So after a lot more talking, Carol eventually, she breaks free because they leave Carol alone to herself in the room, and I think she starts to I think she used her cross actually on the necklace, and she started to like do it on the ground to create some type of a sharp thing, and then she starts to break through the tape. So then we have a Carol on the loose. Carol breaks free, and she leaves the room that she's in. She goes for Maggie, and Maggie is saying, listen, we have to finish this before they kill off, you know, Rick and company, because that's what they plan on doing. They go into the room where the guy is, and it seems like he's dead. It seems like he's dead. Like his arm is all bloody, and it looks like swollen and stuff. And he is dead, and he's starting to turn. And so I think they tied him up to like a piece of rope or something, but they didn't save him. Like they didn't kill him. Like they left him to turn, you know. So they leave that room. And there was so much stuff that was going on, because that's when this show like really, that's when this episode really started to like get crazy. Trying to remember everything that went down. So yeah, they leave him tied up into that room. The coughing grandma, Malls, she goes into that room immediately. As soon as she goes into that room, you know, I think she went for Maggie. She gets bit by the guy that just turned, you know, so she gets bit on the arm. She stabs him, and then like I think she says, "Where the heck are you?" And she's like really looking for Carol and a Maggie, because they've escaped. So then they sneak up on her, kill her. And that's when this junk started to get crazy. So they kill off the coughing grandma, you know, who was smoking Malls, and they're trying to escape, you know, this place, and get back with Rick. So now back to Paula. She goes in the room where Carol is supposed to be to see she's escaped. You see her expression go completely cold, and she takes out the gun, because she warned them, if you try anything, I will not hesitate to kill you. So she sees that Carol's gone, and then she takes out her gun. So now it's a hunt to try to look for Carol and Maggie, because they cannot escape, you know. So that goes down. Carol and Maggie, they come across like this hallway full of walkers, and it's like some of the walkers are like, you know, they're like stabbed through like these little sharp poles, so like they're stuck on these poles, and some walkers, you know, are, you know, going towards them, so they really can't go that way right now. Paula eventually sees them and starts to shoot at them, but she runs out of bullets. So then Carol starts to shoot at her, and then like Paula's just like, that's again, I loved her character. She was just, I don't know how they made me love her character, love this character of Paula in one single episode, but she was a really good character. And her actor, I think her name is Alicia Witt. She was doing some good acting with this character. I really loved Paula. I thought like even Carol, like as savage as Carol is, even in this episode, like I didn't think, like I thought Carol met her match with Paula. I thought Paula was like that capable of really doing her, her own thing, So, but Paul, when Paula runs out of bullets, she says to Carol, "Do it, shoot me," and Carol is hesitating. I'm like, really? Like I was kind of surprised that Carol was hesitating to shoot, this woman. But again, I don't think, even though she's had some savage moments towards like, Carol, do you even have feelings anymore? But I don't think Carol is a complete savage. I still do think she has feelings. Ever since she lost Sophia, at times it seemed like she didn't. She didn't really care about, nothing. She makes some of the hardest decisions in this group, But she was hesitating on killing Paula, and I wasn't really sure if it's because, she was talking to Paula and got to know a little bit of her backstory and who she used to be. But you could see Carol really didn't want to shoot Paula, and she was like, just go. I don't want to do it. She was really hesitating, and Maggie's like, Carol, shoot her, but she didn't want to. So Paula, she's like talking, she's saying some stuff. I think Shell comes out and sees this going on, and she starts to attack Maggie. It seems like she's about to get the drop on Maggie. I think she has a knife in her hands, and she like goes like this, and I thought she got Maggie like right in the stomach to where the little Asian baby was, but she got her on the shirt. Carol comes out of nowhere, headshot behind freaking headshotted the mess out of Shell. I'm like, god dang. So that was the first kill. Then Paula comes into the play, and I think she's about to come up to Carol, but then Carol turns back around and sees Paula, and Paula, she like starts to laugh again. Like you kind of get the feeling she doesn't really fear death per se, but she like starts to laugh. But again, Carol does not shoot her. Like it really seems like Carol doesn't really want to shoot this woman for whatever reason. Maybe she felt some connection with her when she was giving her a backstory. But so Paula like starts laughing while having a gun being pointed at her head, and for a split second Carol just let down her guard. Paula went in, started to try to attack Carol, so then they're like, in this tussle and stuff like that. Again, they're in the hall where all the walkers are, so there's like walkers around them. Some walkers are starting to like really trying to get off the poles that they're stuck on. One walker, and I thought Carol was about to get bit. I thought, no, they are not about to get rid of Carol. Because when I seen that walker get off that pole and he was right behind Carol, I'm like, they're about to kill Carol off, bruh. And I thought they did, because it like got on Carol's back, and I thought, no, Carol got bit, but apparently she didn't. She didn't get bit. She's still trying to fight with Paula, and eventually she pushes Paula onto one of the sharp poles, and she gets on it, and like she's stuck on it, and then one of the walkers starts to feast on Paula's face, and she starts to cry. Like the cry she was doing while getting like eaten alive was just like really unsettling. You could see even Carol was like, again, like Carol, I don't know. It was so hard to read her emotions in this episode because again, like we always see like Carol like try to play possum, but then she'll just straight up kill you. She had the chance to kill this woman like multiple times, but she really wasn't doing. I'm just like, what are you doing? But yeah, Paula's getting eaten alive, crying out loud. The walker is going to town on her face. Carol and Maggie are about to leave, but right after Paula is getting eaten, one of the guys calls her on the walkie, and they're like, "Paula, come in, Paula." They said something, and then dude, Carol is so. This is another reason why when you want to talk about the top dogs in The Walking Dead, you could say Rick, you could say Michonne, you can say Daryl, but you better put Carol in that conversation. Carol is one of the most bad bad line characters. After Paula's dead and one of the guys calls in on the walkie for Paula, Carol picks up the walkie while trying to, contain herself because it really does look like this is getting to Carol, but then she just like tries to be Paula. She's like, over and out. She said something I can't remember, but she was pretending to be Paula, and it's just like, my God, like this was again a really good episode, and this was really all about Carol and Maggie. It shows you that again, Carol, Maggie, they're not just alive because they're with Rick. They can handle themselves. They just killed what? The coughing grandma Malls. They killed the guy because he died from all the blood loss. They killed Paula, who I thought was a great character and who was no pushover. And they killed Shell. Two people got rid of this whole, little group, that they had. And man, it just showed like how ruthless Carol really can be, because not even that. Then it got to a point to where some of the group, some of the other saviors, I guess the ones that, were talking on the walkie, they get there to where they are and they go in. I wasn't really sure what Carol was doing, but she like lights she lights a cigarette, and I'm like, is she about to have a smoke right now or something? The guys go into like this room, and I guess there's like I guess it was oil on the floor or whatever. She freaking closes the door to where although the guys are in this room and throws the cigarette in there, all the guys are burning alive while crying out loud, and Carol was just looking at that. I'm just like, son, Carol, she has done some of the most ruthless things. If you really think about all the stuff Carol has done, you're just like, how is this chick not way more evil than, like, Carol could really be the female like the female governor right now with all the stuff that she has done. So she does that, and again, like, you could still see stuff like this does affect Carol. Like, she's not completely cold. She is like really, it really seemed like she was affected by all the stuff that went down in this episode. But eventually, they make their way back through the hallway of walkers. They see what's left of Paula's face. She's like, and she's turned now, and she's a walker herself, but her face is completely, like, half her face is gone. But they kill her, kill the rest of the walkers, eventually escape, and they see Glenn, Daryl, and Rick and stuff like that. I think Daryl asks Carol, are you guys okay? And Carol's like, no, I'm not. And then she hugs Daryl. Like, again, like, I was hard to read Carol in this episode. I wasn't really sure if she was like really terrified or like trying to play possum, or maybe a little bit of both. But like, you could see all this stuff that they just been through really affected them. So Carol, she starts to break down. Maggie's crying, with the Glenn and stuff like that. Rick still has, their hostage. And towards like the end, he's like, he says something to the effect of, we're all Negan, and then he says, I'm Negan, and then And then when he says that to Rick, like you see like that look that Rick like gives, like once he says, "I'm Negan," to Rick, you will see Rick like, and then he immediately, it was so funny because it was just so fast. Like he says, "I'm Negan. I'm sorry." It immediately shoots the guy. So it's just like, man, and I've seen some people that was confused about that because they did say, I think in this episode a lot. Even Paula said it, I think one or two times, saying saying stuff about Negan, and she was like, "What do you know about Negan?" And then I think it was Carol who said, "I just know he must seem, he must be, quite a, quite a scary guy." And then I think it was Paula who first said, "We're all Negan," and then Carol was like, "What do you mean?" So you wasn't really sure like who exactly Negan was. Just know that that man is still out there. That man is still out there. I just, you really got the feeling like Negan is like, those were like his peasants, and Negan is like the master race. So, dude, all I know, what I was saying towards the ending of this episode, is with all the stuff that Rick and his group has done, they've already killed, the entire, base of one outpost. And now they kill some other people out there, burn some men alive. Dude, whenever that junk comes, it most likely, it probably will be in the season finale where we finally get to see Negan himself on screen. All I know is there is going to be hell to pay for Rick and his group. They have killed already a good amount of his men. Negan is going to be completely justified when this man brings out Lucille. And when Negan start to catch some bodies, it's going to be like, because again, I think Paula was the one who said, "We're not the bad guys, you guys are." And you could make that case because they were the one that came to them, started killing off them, not the other way around. So you can't make that case that Rick and his group are the bad guys. So it was crazy, man. Another really good episode, and this was really just with Carol and Maggie. So hands down, season 6 is the best season ever. Like, best season from episode to episode to episode to episode. This is the best season ever of The Walking Dead. Love this episode as well. But that's really it. There's a lot of talking in this episode, but it was still a really solid episode. And when it got towards the end, that junk got lit. So really good episode. I think there's next episode is 14, so you probably got three more episodes left, because I think next week is episode 14 and 15 and 16. So 3 more episodes left. This junk is gonna get even crazier. I can imagine. I could just imagine. But anyways, what did you guys think about this episode? Let me know down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Negan is coming. That's all I'm saying.